ushering staff, we just have 15 more minutes to start this event. Requesting all those who have come in now to please be seated. Please. All the staff who's in charge of ushering, please see that the staff is sitting down. Requesting the ushering team to please guide the teachers to sit at the table to search for their name.
request all of you to please take your seats. Requesting all of you to please take your seats. Thank you. Please put your mobile phones on silent mode.
Hello, hello, hello. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Hello, hello, mic check, mic check. I'm getting echo. May I request all of you to please rise? Please rise. Good evening, esteemed guests, dedicated faculty, and of course, our incredible teachers. Welcome to the 12th Annual Blue Ribbon Awards 2023-24. We are here to celebrate excellence, dedication, and those who have mastered the art of thriving through 200 days of school with grace and resilience.
That's right. Tonight is all about recognition, inspiration, and maybe even a few laughs. Because if we can't laugh at ourselves, someone else will do it for us. But before we get into the awards, let's take a moment to appreciate what brought us here tonight. Hard work, determination, and the realization that summer vacation is still far away.
In this room, we are surrounded by future leaders. The teachers who somehow make congruency interesting, and the staff who ensure the Wi-Fi works long enough to submit assignments. We're here because of you. Yes, you. The ones who keep this crazy, wonderful ship we call school afloat.
But before we go any further, let's all rise for the UAE National Anthem. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hold on to your seats because you're about to meet a leader like no other. I introduced to you a principal who isn't just the head of our school, but the lady bond of education. Always on a mission and always in action. Let's hear it for Miss Asha Alexander, our sustainability hero, who recycles so efficiently that even her punchlines come with a green certification.
Seriously, Abhinav, Mrs. Alexander is so eco-friendly, even her carbon footprint offsets itself. She's the kind of person who makes you wonder if your recycling habits are just, well, trash. So brace yourselves. After hearing, you'll probably feel guilty about that one plastic straw you ever used sometime. So without further ado, Let's welcome the Queen of Green herself, Mrs. Alexander.
That was some kind of a welcome. And I don't know, I have no comeback on that. I wasn't prepared at all for this evening, and Mr. Gazda will bear me out. We were at the corporate office with our chairman and founder until a couple of hours ago. So, first of all, welcome to the function. To our chief guest, Ismat Abu Shihab, Director of Regional Hub of Bradford University, Mr. Michael Gazda, Senior Vice President, Education, GEMS Education, and all you lovely ladies and gentlemen. May I welcome our guests with a small token of our appreciation. Mr. Gazda. I didn't realize it's been 12 long years since we began this Blue Ribbon Awards. And it's a particularly heartening moment and a strong point on our calendar every single year. I look forward to this day to celebrate all the wonderful staff. And it gets exceedingly difficult as a school grows. We are almost 300, 400 people on staff, and we have to choose a certain number, because first our hall doesn't permit larger numbers. So when we have to look at celebrating people, we had to look very hard to ensure that the very best are being celebrated. So when I started this, many of the leaders told me, it is very sad that you're picking only a few people to celebrate. The rest of the staff might feel unhappy. But I think we must hold up the ones who have gone that extra mile, who have done a lot to contribute to the successes that we see year on year. So today is all about you and the commitment you've shown, the innovative approaches that you've undertaken, the technology that has brought our students a better kind of instruction, the care that you provide, the love that you give our children day in and day out. And there's so many of you. And this is being live streamed, and I'm hoping that those who are listening in, especially the staff who are not here, that everyone's work counts. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what success is and how you come about being recognized and what it should mean on your journey. So when I thought about it, I said, the first start point of success is turning up every day, and that all of us do. We turn up every single day to give the best to our children. Because as Steve Jobs has said, a large part of your life is your work. And if you have to be successful, you have to love the work that you do. And I believe everyone who has contributed and who are continuing to contribute love this school, love the work they do. And I see it on your faces because you turn up every day happily to greet our children. Doing something consistently is hard for most people. They don't like to do the ordinary, the boring, the mundane, day in and day out. But if you can, then you've begun your journey. You've begun to put one foot in front of the other because you know that turning up, despite all the challenges, is because you love your work and you want to be there for the children. So success cannot happen unless you're consistent, unless you're prepared to continue that journey every single day, however difficult, however challenging it might get. The second thing that I think success, it happens on your journey, is the fact that You have to delay gratification. Now, in today's world, everybody wants immediately to be recognized. I've joined this school, I've joined it for 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Why is nobody noticing me? You all must have heard of the marshmallow experiment, where a marshmallow is placed in front and the child is told not to eat it, and the person steps out. People who followed those who did the marshmallow experiment found that those children grew up to be people who could wait for success, who could delay gratification. They turned out to be very focused on their goals. They turned out to be people who were committed to their tasks. Now, I'm not talking just about gratification, as in people might look at today and say, I've got this award. But some of us had to work really hard. Some of us may have got this award after a year. Some of us have worked several years. So all your parts, though you're working at GEMS Education and at GEMS Legacy School, are not the same. Each of us is on a journey, and there are milestones on our path. Today is one such milestone, and some of us have reached this milestone, and you must celebrate when you get to that milestone. But the milestones in other paths may come at a later time. They will come if you continue consistently to work. That milestone will come. But don't rest on that laurel. Don't say, I've reached this milestone, you know what, I got the Blue Ribbon Award for the 10th time, I'm a great person. Continue striving so that every milestone you reach, you celebrate, but embrace the journey. That is the success. Are you continuing to walk your path? And so even if you're at home today and you haven't been reaching this particular milestone, understand that your milestone will come. The whole idea is not to look for immediate gratification and to give up and to throw in the towel. Angela Duckworth, I think it is, who said that grit is the differentiator between those who make it and those who don't. Grit is a single stick-with-itness to stay, however hard it is, to persevere. And if you don't have that, and I think very often in a country, in a place where we get everything at the snap of a finger, we are not teaching our people to wait, to strive for something, to show grit and resilience. It is those people who can get up when everything is gone and work themselves back up again who are successful. Because on the path of success, you're going to meet failure. You're going to fall. You're going to, not succeed. One of the things I want to tell teachers, young teachers especially, is learn to act. Confidence and competence are two different things. But you build confidence by acting out whatever. Don't prepare extensive plans and don't, just sit down and say, I have the plan, but I'm not going to execute it. Or I'll wait until the plan's perfect. Jump in, work on that plan, because when you start working on the plan, you might fail. But you're going to build confidence because you're doing and learning from that error that you've made. So continue to work, step up, and take on responsibilities and act, because you're going to build confidence along with your competence, oftentimes, though, when you meet with failure. But don't give up. Persevere, be resilient, and continue to work, because that is when the better things start happening. Some of us think we're not made for success. I don't have the genes, I'm not so good, I can't do these things, I'm not so intelligent, I'm not so capable. That's where you have to look at Carol Dweck's growth mindset. You tell your children about it. You're not finite in your abilities. You're not finite in the way that you've been made. You haven't explored what you can do by pushing the envelope, by making sure that you can do more. The day you decide that this is not enough, I can do much more, you suddenly discover what you're capable of doing. And that growth mindset is what we want not just for our children, but for all of us as educators. I bring strength training into almost every speech, so I'm going to bring it in here today. I was 60 when I started lifting weights. Not because I thought I would be capable, but I wanted to see what is the hype about. I then began to realize the benefits I was getting. It's about longevity, it's about building muscle, it's about being able to live a healthy life in my 60s. 3 years down the line, I can do much more than 30-year-olds. And it's because every single day, however hard it is, I get up at 4:30 and I go to the gym. However difficult and challenging my coaches, I continue to do and push the boundaries. If I can learn at 63, so can you. I was not a weightlifter or somebody who was athletic. I learned it because I pushed the boundaries. And every time I learn something new, new neurons are formed in your cortex. And you realize you can do much more. You can be much more. Don't let anyone define your abilities. So it's not just about health and sustainability. Anything you want to be, you can be if you set your mind to it. And you have demonstrated that time and again, so many of you, by pushing your boundaries, by demonstrating that you can do. But finally, all this is possible only if you cultivate loving relationships with your family, with your friends, with your children, with your spouses, your parents, your grandparents, your colleagues. They are the wind beneath your wings. If you're going to fly, you have to be happy in your heart. And that is the fundamental thing that holds you up. So to everyone viewing, all the spouses, all the grandparents, parents, children, you are the reason why these lovely people are here this evening. You are the reason why they're able to come happily to work and give us their best, be productive, and make sure that our students and teachers and our community is well served. So one of the most overlooked thing is, let me go there and do my best at work. But if you're not happy at home, if you're not happy in your heart, if you're not happy in your relationships, you cannot create happiness in the school. So that is the basis on which you must build your success. You can't be successful with money and things that you buy. And if you limit your definition of success to, I got these prizes, I got these awards, I was recognized, you still won't be happy because this is very momentary. You'll take it, you'll take a picture, you'll put it on Instagram, and then you're unhappy immediately after. But true happiness is that you recognize, I've added value to this organization, I've added value to my children, I've added value to the parents I serve, I've added value to my family. When your family would be the first people who would be overjoyed that you have been recognized this evening. And while earlier I would have families attend this function, as the numbers are growing and our space is still limited, I can't have you all bring in your families, but I'm hoping they're viewing this event online. So a big thank you to your families who have supported you to be these wonderful people that you are. Everyone is special, but today I've selected 22 people for the Principals Award. I'm not going to elucidate on each and every one, but one person I want to specifically commend is the foreman who looks after all our ancillary staff. It might be seeming that on a day where teachers are being celebrated and administration is celebrated, and while we do recognize our ancillary staff, I wanted him recognized here this evening to give the message that everybody's working. This man, Gopan, has been working year on year for the last 12 years. I'm sure the MSO will absolutely agree that our lives would be so much harder if he were not there. I have cited this in meetings that sometimes I think I wish half of my senior leadership team would have the same ability that Gopan has to delegate, to know his people, to be on top of everything. I just walk in, I ask him, and I get all the answers, and he actually challenges me, walk around and tell me what's missing. When you have staff like that, you are functioning at a completely different level. I am able to sit down comfortably. For one, I had not seen this hall, and I have not seen to any of the arrangements because I could trust my staff to carry it out perfectly. So I've come in just as the guests have walked in to see these wonderful arrangements. It's because of people like Gopan. And though his work is something that might seem ordinary to some of you, it's not intellectual maybe, that man has learned computer skills in the last 12 years that I've seen. What is holding him back from moving into administration is only his inability to speak in English. If he could, I would tell you I'd happily replace several people because he has exemplary ability. And I want to let you know, don't overlook people because of the work they do. It's not blue-collar jobs or white-collar jobs. It is actual commitment, love for what they do, grit and resilience, the ability to delegate, the ability to be on top, problem solve. I have seen him doing it. There's never anything. We've had carnivals here for 35,000 people. And he has never told me, don't call so many people, we can't manage. Each year I have said, Gopan, we've got 400,000. Next year we're donating 500,000 to Dubai Cares. And he says, bring it on. Never. Whatever the challenge is, I give him a day, he gets things done. So the people on the Principals Awards, I can go on about each one of you, but I shall be taking a lot of time. But this gentleman, I really wanted to share with all of you that he inspires me. And I think he should inspire you too, because sometimes take a little time to look at people who are working really hard and acknowledge them. Maybe everyone won't get a Blue Ribbon Award, but you can look and see the people who are working in your school. It may be a driver, it may be a conductor, it may be a maid in the corridor. Acknowledge them because that is their Blue Ribbon Award. So I can't bring everyone here, but I would like to acknowledge the wonderful work all of you do, and once again, congratulations. You have been an amazing team. I know most of you by name, and I can actually cite why you're here. So thank you all, and I hope that the evening promises to be a brilliant one. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those inspiring words. Moving on to the chief spectacle of the day, the awards, or as we like to call them, the Grammys of education. Sans the red carpet, but with all the buzz and harmony.
All right, folks, hold on to your academic caps because it's time for the most prestigious award for this evening, the Principals Award for Excellence. Winning this award is like unlocking the cheat codes to life. Except, instead of infinite lives, you get lifelong bragging rights.
Well, think of this award as the Nobel of our school. Here you get a torrential downpour of applause, endless admiration, and the unbeatable satisfaction of knowing that you are the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. It's like winning a gold medal in the Olympics of awesomeness without the grueling workouts or the awkwardly large medals that never fit your pocket.
May I now request our chief guest, Mr. Ismat Abu Shahab, to join with Mrs. Alexander to do the honors. So, ladies and gentlemen, first up, let's hear it for Miss Rana Sabohi and Miss Renika Chabra. Coming up next, we have Miss Althea Vaz and Miss Anita Krishnan. Miss Anita Krishnan is not in today. Moving on, we have Miss Bhavna Sajnani and Miss Marine Matthew. And next I have my co-host Mr. Abhinav Mishra and Miss Aswati Vinod. Miss Bhuvana Ramakrishnan and Miss Vinnie Agnes. Moving up next, we have Mr. Rajiv Raghavan and Miss Pratima Verma. Coming up next is Mr. Tony Sebastian and Miss Safura Anwar. And we have Miss Kirtana A.G. and Mr. Paramjeet Singh. All right, we have Mr. Vijoy Mulaithodiyal and Mr. Nitin Sharma. And coming up next is the man who ma'am spoke about him, and he's none other than Mr. Gopakumar M.R. and Mr. Clinton Cletus. And last but not the least, we have Miss Nina Cherian and our beloved Vice Principal, Mrs. Lata Venkateswar. Woo! Woo! Come on, ladies and gents, she really deserves a standing ovation. Come on, can we have it for Lata Venkateshwar? Thank you, Mrs. Alexander and Mr. Ismat Abu Shihab, for doing the honors.
I now have the singular pleasure of introducing our distinguished chief guest for this evening, Mr. Ismat Abu Shihab. He's an experienced higher education professional with over 19 years of experience, currently serving as the Director of Regional Hub at the University of Bradford, UAE. Ismat has a strong background in education strategy and higher education performance, including admissions, marketing, partnerships, recruitment, and business development, both at the strategic and the operational levels. He has developed strong networks and links in the UK and several countries overseas, and has served on several cross-university working groups and committees. He is also serving as chair of the Middle East North African Regional Interest Group of the British Universities International Liaison Association and the chair of the University of Technology and Applied Sciences Oman Consortium of 10 UK universities. He is also a major contributor to educational journals and speaks at conferences on higher education in the Middle East and North Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please hear it for Mr. Shihab?
Well, thank you very much for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure to be here celebrating the success that you've been going through. One thing that I always consider, usually when we give a speech, that success with no challenges has no meanings. So the road is yours, and you would be expecting to walk it alone. No one will walk it for you, but you will find a lot of people, they will help you to walk it with you. This is just the beginning of your journey. You've been giving an absolute support by the school. This is just the beginning of fulfilling your desire moving forward. And I wish you all the best, whatever you do. Thank you very much for having me today, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ismat Abu Shihab, for those inspiring words and invaluable insights. We're sure everyone has gained something from your words of wisdom. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Alexander and Mr. Michael Guster to please join us up on stage to give away the next set of awards.
As we continue to cruise through this evening of excellence, let's take a moment to appreciate our senior leadership team. These are the folks who have navigated the turbulent, muddy waters of educational change with the grace of a swan on roller skates.
Absolutely, Abhinav. The SLT is like the Avengers of our school, swooping in to save the day repeatedly. Only instead of superpowers, they wield Excel spreadsheets and possesses the mystical ability to function on just 5 hours of sleep, proving that their true superpower is surviving on caffeine and sheer determination. So, without further ado, let me begin with the next set of awards and SLT awards.
So at first, we've got Luz Olivia Mascarenas and Miss Sarita Kaul. Next, we have Vinita Rumel and Radha Madhukar. Next up, we have Miss Vijita Shetty and my co-host, Miss Zara Shirazi. Following them, we have Miss Leanne D'Souza and Miss Prachi Pilvankar. May I please invite on stage Miss Pearl Perez and Miss Nikita Suri. Next up, we have Miss Fatima Anis and Miss Ananya Chakraborty. Next, we have Miss Ifat Beg and Miss Sandhya Prashant. Next up, we have two of our most valuable English teachers, Miss Nisha Mohsin and Miss Valentina Solomon Samuel. May I now call on stage Miss Sneha Nair and Miss Shabnam Muhammad. Next up, we have Miss Nashwa Ahmed and Miss Aya Achia. Next up, we have Miss Moona Kamal and Miss Ashpa Fatima. Following which, we have Miss Kuratulain Ibrahim and Mr. Winston D'Souza. Can we please hear it for them, ladies and gentlemen? Next up, we have Miss Elaine Nicole Rebello and Miss Jamie Basilia Rebello. Next up, we have Miss Jennifer Damia and Miss Princey Susuper. Miss Jennifer couldn't be here tonight, Next up, we have Miss Namita Sadan and Miss Shamuli Shorkar. Next up, we have Ms. Danica D'Souza and Mr. Sarang Fadnis. Next up, we have Ms. Euphemia Jarain and Ms. Rahila Irfan Ahmad Shaman. Last but not the least, we have Ms. Shweta Sharma. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a thunderous round of applause to the unsung heroes, the administrative staff. They are the wizards behind the curtain, making sure everything runs smoother than butter on a hot pancake. Without them, the school would be like a boat without a captain, adrift in a sea of chaos, with students frantically trying to steer with their homework. Of course, spearheaded by my good friend, the Jason Statham of GLS. At first, we have Miss Rajeshwari Rajshekaran and Miss Nivya GP. Next up, we have Dr. Sabna Ahmed and Rajesh Payaddikar. Next up, we have Ms. Nagma Niaz Pathan and Ms. Virginia Shehata. Next, we have Ms. Sindhu Prakashan and Ms. Maria De Cruz. And at last, we have Krishna Arun Ghosh and Mr. Anish Thomas.
And with that, we come to the end of Admin Awards. On behalf of everyone, a huge thank you to Mr. Gazdar for doing the honors. Thank you, sir. May I now request Mr. Ismat Abu Shahab to join Mrs. Alexander to give away the next set of awards. So let's keep this celebration going. Yes, sir.
As we voyage across this fantastic evening, it's time to put the spotlight on the real MVPs of our school. Yes, the teachers. Our teachers ignite curiosity, inspire dreams, and cultivate the skills that students will carry throughout their lives. Beyond the classroom, teachers are the guiding lights who nurture potential, offer unwavering support, and challenge students to reach their fullest capabilities. In every lesson taught, every word of encouragement given, and every moment of patience extended, teachers mold minds and shape the world, proving that their role is not just important, but profoundly transformative.
So So without further ado, I'm going to call the first teacher to receive the awards, Ms. Zeenat Khan and Ms. Jyotsna Joshi. Next we have Ms. Amara Moin and Ms. Michelle Apte. Next we have Ms. Zainab Sutarwala and Ms. Benita Peter. Moving up, we have Ms. Gazel Fernandez and Ms. Alfia Saifi. Ms. Pearl Gomes and Ms. Dimple Jitani. Coming up next, we have Ms. Yashasri Bendre and Ms. Manali Sagar. Ms. Marina James and Ms. Nauf Muhammad Ali. She's not in today. Moving up next, we have Ms. Disha Sharma and Ms. Shiny Balan. Coming up next, we have Ms. Fatima Mafaza Shemaz and Ms. Najma Farhan. Next, we have Ms. Usha Kalantri and Ms. Juvena Dias. Coming up next is Ms. Belinda Francis and Ms. Sindhu Balakrishnan. And next we have Ms. Shania Rodriguez and Ms. Lakshmi Raghunath. Moving on, we have Ms. Sakina Umme Abiha and Ms. Jainama Manoj. Coming up next is Ms. Purnima Nautiyal and Ms. Sajita Ranjit. Coming up next is Ms. Fatima Kareem and Ms. Mary Smitha. Moving on, next we have Miss Lamia Jama. She's not in today. And we have Melanie Newbigging. Proud to have Miss Fatima Jamil Nasser, who's the Emirati TA, and Miss Shahana Ashraf. Moving on, Miss Rafat Sultana and Miss Chantel Mascarenas.
Next up, we have Miss Nida Ansari and Miss Karen Michelle Caparos. Up next, we have Miss Nafisa Sadiq Sheikh and Miss Venetia D'Souza. Venetia is not here. Next up, we have Miss Suzanne Lobo and Miss Rima D'Souza. We now have Miss Gretel Matilda Rodriguez and Miss Shweta Nayak. Next up, we have Miss Menka Phulwani and Miss Deepa Mohanan Sridevi. Next is Miss Sania Nikhat and Miss Shruti Shimpi. Up next is Miss Ritika Murarka and Miss Neetu Sureshan. Up next, we have Miss Zenobia Tanveer and Miss Athira Madhu. Can we now have Miss Anjana Nair and Miss Shiza Sheikh up on stage, please? Up next, we have Miss Shweta Chandramohan Velandi and Miss Kirti Kedar Kulpe. Next up, we have Miss Shehnaz Irshad and Miss Nicolette De Silva. Next up, we have Miss Leona Rodriguez and Miss Ashwini Nair. Up next, we have Miss Kavita Sharma and Miss Huma Zareen. Up next, we have Miss Reena Mathai and Miss Ashwati Kumar. Up next, can we please have Miss Vijay Shanti Sebastian Thattuvaraj and Miss Mahajabeen Zehra Abedi. Followed by Miss Janelle Holmes and Miss Gohar Jehan Ansari. Next up, we have Miss Tahira Sadia Muhammad Ehsanullah and Miss Gunjan Soni. Can we now have Miss Satyavani Chandrasekhar Shirke and Miss Subi Bimal. Can we now have Mr. Liaquat Ali and Miss Mridula Fernandez. Up next, we have Miss Adina Babu and Miss Sani Matthew. Can we please have Miss Sarah Philip Carvalho and Miss Archana Rajan. Next, we'd like to have Miss Fatima Roshanara and Miss Vyoma Chaturvedi. Can we please have Miss Kiran Sharma and Miss Rupali Kanchan? We'd now like to have Miss Rinku Patel and Miss Chabungbam Tombi Sana. Up next, we have Miss Manju Sharma and Miss Ansi Benny.
And moving on with the awards, we have Miss Mona Ashraf and Miss Marwa Magdi. Coming up next, we have Miss Seham Haider and Miss Asma Nabil. Sultan Abdul Fattah and Ms. Heba Eid. Up next is Ms. Heba Samir and Ms. Karima Rizq. And we have Mr. Muhammad Nagi and Mr. Mahmood Ahmed. All right, up next is Ms. Mahreen Faisal and Ms. Shailja Patania. Coming up next, we have Ms. Gracie Perpetual Fernandez and Mr. Abdul Hussain Kalakara. Next, we have Ms. Sarita Baloni and Mr. Pavan Kashyap. Coming up next is Ms. Apple Grace Barnadas and Mr. Sandeep Chandrakant Joshi. Coming up next is Ms. Manjari Satsangi and Ms. Claudine Ann. Up next is Ms. Pranita Anil Chaugule and Ms. Samira Khwaja. And last but not the least, Ms. Deepika Rajasekar and Ms. Lekha Ajita Rajagopal.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the concluding speech, and who better to wrap things up than the man himself, Mr. Michael Gusder, Senior Vice President Education, GEMS Education.
Mrs. Alexander, Honorable Chief Guest Ismat, Lata, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You know, I'm often put in this unenviable position to speak before dinner. I saw everybody looking at the back. I don't know whether the food is served, but you just have to me for a few moments. I'm going to ad-lib because I don't have a speech. When I should have been writing my speech, inability meeting with Mrs. Alexander, so if I don't speak sense, you know who to blame. You know, I was telling Lata ma'am just now, you've heard the phrase, great men think alike, great minds think alike. Last year, all that I wanted to say, Jonathan, I think it was Jonathan and Mr. Alexander said it. And then I came up here, I had to say something totally different. So today, although I don't have a speech, while driving from my house, it's quite far from here, I said, I will talk about success. And lo and behold, Mr. Alexander started off everything about success, filled with quotations and, statistics, pie charts, and everything else. So, but I'm going to talk a little about success very, very briefly. A few months ago, I was at a get-together, a very small get-together, and a young lady, quite young, maybe in her 30s, asked me, sir, you've done so well. What has contributed to your success? And how can I, be successful? Now, I don't know whether I'm successful. I'm okay. I've done well for myself. And I thought for a few moments and gave her a few bits of wisdom, stuff which I thought was wisdom. And I thought I'll share something with you. I think success is a relative term. Everybody measures their and other people's success very, very differently. And if I ask myself and I think about myself and I say, well, if I'm successful, what's contributed? What were those key moments or key things which contributed to my success? I think the first thing was, I'm not a risk taker, all right? I avoid taking risks, but I've taken 2 calculated risks in my life. The first is when I left my hometown, Allahabad, to shift to Pune. I shifted to a school without knowing anything about it, nothing. There was just somebody else who I knew who worked there, and I shifted there. Without any interview in those days, sent a handwritten application, reached there, and I got the job. That was the first risk I took. But over there, it was hard work. It was being at the right place at the right time. The year I joined, quite a few people left, and so without much effort, so to say, I moved up the ladder and soon was teaching grade 10. It was only till grade 10. But it was a lot of hard work, and as Mr. Alexander said, although I was just teaching class 5, at that time I was satisfied. I wasn't thinking, will I become the principal or the vice principal? I knew it was a gradual process. So it was hard work, it was consistency, it was taking on plenty without any extra money. I'd like to repeat, it was taking on a lot of extra jobs, elocution, dramatics, debating, school magazine, games, boarding in charge of a dormitory without any extra money. Because I think at that time I realized that if I worked hard, there was a possibility of rising up the ladder. And I became headmaster there, and there were disappointments. I didn't become principal. So the second risk was leaving that job, although everybody said, you're headmaster here, you're living on campus, your daughters go to the school next door, you're getting your food, and what else do you need? I took the risk to move to the UAE. I knew a few people here, but let me tell you this. The few people I asked were not very positive. They said, oh, you're doing well, don't shift, including a parent whose son was there. Maybe he wanted me to look after the son there. Don't shift, it's a horrible place, etc., etc. But I took the risk and moved. Sometimes you need to take a calculated risk in life. I said I'm not a risk taker. I usually go by the book and think a million more times than I should. But I took the risk to move here. And as they say, the rest is history. But here, irrespective of the position that I'm in, and I'm proud of it, and I'm thankful to our chairman, we are all accountable. I'm accountable. Mr. Alexander's accountable. And when principals tell you, work hard, we're all accountable, believe me, it's a fact. It's a fact. Irrespective of what position, whether you're a teacher, except the chairman, but the chairman himself is accountable to the board, the chairman is accountable to the investors. So success is about being accountable, it's about being responsible, it's about being determined to do better every day. It's putting aside, pride, putting aside laziness, not worrying too much, but continually working day after day after day and knocking on those doors and grabbing the opportunity when it comes. Congratulations to all you very, very wonderful people who have won awards today. I told Mrs. Alexander, I wished more schools did something big like this to appreciate people. They do. I look after 7 schools, and all the schools, they give certificates, they have a lunch. On prize day, 10 or 15 people get the principal's special award. Everybody does. But I think a function like this is more called for in more schools, because although you know, and the principal reiterates, the vice principal and the senior leadership team continually reiterate to you that you are valued, sometimes you want to see it. You want that balloon, and you want that tinsel, and you want those photographs, and you want that certificate, and you want this award. It may cost 50 dirhams or 100 dirhams or whatever it is. That's not the thing. It's coming up on stage, getting your colleagues clapping, the excitement of the photographs. I know how many of you will send photographs off on Instagram, on Facebook, and to relatives in India and all over the place. That's the excitement, and I congratulate you, and I'm happy, and thank you, Mr. Alexander, for letting me be part and parcel of this most amazing function. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Gazdar, for sharing your perspective on success with us. I'm truly inspired. So moving on. Yes, Abhinav.
Well, as we are inching ever closer to the lip-smacking dinner out there, it's time for the vote of thanks. Zara, the stage is yours.
So ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this spectacular event to a close, we stand here with hearts full of gratitude. On behalf of GEMS Legacy School Dubai and our entire school community, we want to thank our esteemed principal, Mrs. Alexander, for steering our school with grace, vision, and a whole lot of eco-friendly wisdom. We also want to extend our deepest appreciation to Mr. Rajiv for meticulously handling all the arrangements that made this evening so seamlessly and enjoyable. Your attention to detail and dedication ensured that everything ran like clockwork, and we couldn't have done it without you.
A special thank you to our celebrated guests, Mr. Ismat Abu Shihab and Mr. Michael Gazdar, for sharing their insights and wisdom with us tonight. And let's not forget the teachers, the admin team, who have been the backbone of this event. Your hard work is what makes nights like these possible. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
And to all the parents, families, and friends tuning in tonight, thank you for your unwavering support. And to all the award recipients, your passion and dedication inspire us all. Keep reaching for the stars. And remember, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. So as we close this chapter to the awards night, let's carry forward the spirit of celebration and achievement, lighting the path to a brighter and more prosperous future. Thank you once again, and before we say goodnight, we invite you all to enjoy the dinner served as buffet and have a fantastic night. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.